Now, about 30 hours ago, we had a big storm system come through. It's actually the one that hit Rolling Forks, Mississippi, devastated it with an F4 tornado. We didn't get any tornadoes up this way, but we did get some heavy rain, some high winds or whatever. Anyway, that storm system dropped about 2 inches of rain on us about 30 hours ago, but yet we're out here in the field. Just show you the benefits of these cover crops and no-till in a long-term situation. You know, we can be out here in the field and we're not doing any damage to the ground whatsoever. Yes, the ground is heavy, as you can tell. It's wet. We're kind of in a wetter part of the field. The whole field isn't like this, but you know, you can tell that ground's glistening. It is it's past field capacity. It's wet, but the soil structure we've built up with long-term no-till allows us to be out here. As you can tell right there, there's our wheel tracks. Yeah, we're leaving some cleat marks, but we're not even come close to rutting up the ground or anything like that. And then all of these roots out here with the cover crops is still down in the ground, so not worried about compaction. Really supporting the tractor real good. Of course, this tractor is not a real heavy implement. You know, the tractor itself is probably around 15,000 pounds. We got the duals on. You know, the hooded sprayer itself is not real heavy, although we are carrying about 2,400 pounds of water in the tank on the back. You can tell we can be out here and be doing a good job. You know, ideally, yes, I definitely let this dry up another day or so, but unfortunately time is not on our side. It's a luxury we don't have right now. So even though we're definitely out here a lot wetter than what I would like it to be, you know, I feel real confident that we're not doing any long-term damage to our soils. All right, see, here's my tracks away from that wet spot. I mean, you can't even hardly tell the tractor's been through here at all. Now, while we're out here talking about soil health, let's just pull up some of this grass and see what the soil looks like. Oh man, look at that. Well, we got an earthworm, even though this soil's still pretty cold, got an earthworm here, but say, look at that root mass right there. That's why I'm not worried about compaction whatsoever. Got all those roots in the ground. And then look at that cottage cheese. Look at that dark color. You can see how much organic matter we've built up in the top couple inches of the soil. I mean, I don't know if that's as black as Midwest soil, but it's definitely a lot blacker than anything else you're going to see in West Tennessee unless you get on some pasture ground. You know, a few years ago, this black layer was not as deep. So we're definitely building organic matter, starting to break up some of that platy structure right there, start turning it more into cottage cheese, which is really what we want to see with soil structure. I mean, look at that. That is beautiful. That is a perfect environment to grow plants in. And every year we do this, we're just making further improvements deeper and deeper into the soil, building up organic matter and stuff. And if we were to break this up, I'm sure we're going to see a few more, we see a few more earthworms in here. Man, that is gorgeous. Right here in this part of the field, we actually kind of got a thin stand of cover crop. This is, we're down here in a little flat. This little spot right here, we actually made some good corn last year and had some quite a bit of residue we had to plant through. So of course our cover crop stand is not going to be quite as good. Let's get out here where it's a little bit thicker and pull something up. Ooh, I mean, look at that. Look, we built soil structure, good soil structure, crumbly soil structure, 4 inches deep right here. Man, I mean, that is a lot of pore space, a lot of room for roots to grow. 1, 2, 3 earthworms right there. 4. I mean, this is beautiful. Then I don't know if you can tell, we got all this real fine stuff. Some of it is fine root hairs, some of it's fungus, decomposing the crop residue, the corn residue on the ground, returning those nutrients back to the soil, recycling nutrients. and building fertility for our next crop. Let's see what this clover plant looks like. This one looks like it's nodulated probably pretty well, probably producing quite a bit of nitrogen. All right, our GoPro ain't gonna get close enough to really focus and look at it, but there's tons of little nodules on these roots. That's where the rhizobia bacteria live and take atmospheric nitrogen and put it in a plant available form. So this clover right here is actually producing its own nitrogen, and since it won't grow to maturity, all the nitrogen that this rhizobia has produced for this, when I terminate this clover, will be returned back to the soil for our cash crop. That's practically free fertility right there, folks. All right, I just found another example I want to show y'all of why I cover crop, why I think it is so important. You know, before we started experimenting with cover crops in 2011, we've been completely no-till for over 10 years. And while I believe no-till is a lot better system than conventional till as far as protecting the soil, rebuilding the soil, and most importantly, preventing soil erosion, I mean, it only goes so far, which is why we switched to cover crops. Anyway, right here, you can see a strip right here that we missed with the drill while we were planting cover crops last fall. And this is what a typical no-till field will look like in the springtime. As you can tell, we got a few winter weeds and stuff growing out there, but we've also got some residue out here, but we've also got a lot of bare soil right here. And this goes back to one of the main principles of keeping the ground covered is preventing erosion. And while no-till is a lot better than conventional till about preventing erosion, it does have its limitations. Now, when we're in a no-till situation, you know, the ground has not been plowed up. That means it hasn't been loosened, and it's more likely to stick together whenever you're getting rain, and the erosion is not going to be near as bad with no-till. However, it can still erode, and a big problem that we see with erosion in no-till environments is, you know, you see a lot of bare ground down through here. And if you've ever been caught out in a rainstorm with heavy rain, you know, some of those raindrops, they can kind of hurt. I mean, they're falling downwards at terminal velocity, you know, however fast that's going to be, and those raindrops actually have energy, and when those raindrops actually hit bare ground, that energy is released, and then it dislodges soil particles, which can then be carried off by the runoff. However, we get right over here into the cover crop, you know, those raindrops are going to have a lot harder time actually reaching the soil. These raindrops are going to impact the plant material first. Their energy is going to be dissipated, and then it's going to trickle down to the soil where then it can be absorbed. So the plants are actually absorbing the energy instead of the soil absorbing the energy, and the soil has a lot less chance of actually being loosened and dislodged to where it can run off down the hill. Now, I've heard several other farmers comment, well, you know, I've got, you know, a bunch of winter weeds on my no-till fields. That counts as cover crop, doesn't it? And I mean, it does to a certain extent, but let me show you the big difference in an actual bona fide cover crop and then winter annual weeds. All right here we got one of the most common winter annual weeds found in West Tennessee called henbit. This is just what we were spraying for in our wheat fields a week ago or so. Anyway, let's pull this up. See, it doesn't provide very much ground cover. It does provide a little bit, but very limited ground cover on intercepting raindrops. Now let's pull it up here. Find the base of the plant. All right, this is the root system on henbit. Not much to it at all. Now, while this plant is growing, it is taking CO2 out of the atmosphere, and it is putting some carbon back into the soil. You know, it's going to be very limited just because, I mean, don't have much roots going in the ground and helping build soil structure. Now, let's pull up an annual ryegrass plant here. Carry it back. All right, here's your henbit plant. Here's one annual ryegrass plant. See the difference in roots and how much is in the ground? This is why annual ryegrass is so great at building up soil. It puts a ton of roots in the ground, and especially very deep in the ground. They don't end here. They were going farther on in the ground, but they ripped loose when I pulled it up. Versus a henbit plant, you know, just not doing much at all. All right, now right here we have another very, very common annual weed in West Tennessee. This is poana, otherwise known as annual bluegrass. You see, it's already going out to seed, so you know, this plant's pretty much done. Not very much above ground biomass. However, when we look at the roots, it's got a pretty dang dense root structure right there. And you know, that really, you know, Kentucky or annual bluegrass really does help with erosion because it's got a lot of roots in the ground helping anchor in the soil and holding it together. However, because of its limited biomass, it's not going to be great for building organic matter or weed control or something like that, but it is still a lot better than what our winter broadleaves are. So the bottom line is, if you're wanting to build your soils, definitely, you know, stay away from tillage, you know, get into no-till, but realize that no-till does have its limitations. You know, the winter weeds we see with no-till, while they do help some on building soil and limiting erosion, they're still very limited. It's letting your winter annuals grow all winter long is still better than applying a fall burn down like some no-tillers do. But still, the results you're going to get from letting your winter annuals grow is definitely going to pale in comparison to planting an established cover crop and getting a lot more biomass and injecting a lot more carbon into your soil. So that right there, guys, what I just showed you is just a few of the reasons why we do what we do and why we're such big believers in soil health and rebuilding the soils. Just giving us the best possible environment to work into.